Welcome to Cybercast, decoding today's cyber issues. I'm Alexander Bolova, production lead at GovCIO Media and Research. With me today is staff writer-researcher Nikki Henderson. Hi, Nikki.
Hello there, Alex.
So you had the chance to chat with Chi Kang, Deputy Director for Operations and Cybersecurity Division at NOAA. For those who don't know, what does NOAA stand for?
NOAA stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
Gotcha. So what are some of the primary functions of NOAA's Enterprise Security Operations Center when it comes to protecting the agency's networks and data from cyber attacks? What did Chi say about this?
Well, Alex, Chi said that NOAA provides several enterprise security functions, including network perimeter defense as well as tech service management. They also offer 24/7 real-time monitoring for cyber analytics. And this is unbelievable what I'm about to tell you. Chi said that they monitor between 50 and 60 billion, yes, billion raw events on a weekly basis. So when he told me that, I was like, wow. But that is what they're doing, the real-time monitoring for cyber analytics, all of those different events. And then she also said that NOAA focuses not only on the responsive or reactive nature, but also the proactive threat hunting so that they can anticipate if there is a change in landscape where they can see an increased probability of an attack.
Gotcha. And wow, I feel like this is the second time you've brought up billion with a B in our chats. And it never fails to amaze me just how much data is out there and how NOAA and other agencies sort through it, which leads very well into our next question, which is, what did Chi say about machine learning and the role it plays in increasing the speed and effectiveness of NOAA's cyber analytics?
Well, one thing that she mentioned was that leveraging machine learning has been really helpful to NOAA when trying to identify things of interest that need to be analyzed by humans. He also said that machine learning has been a major part of their overall analytics. So, ML has played a key role in helping NOAA expand their behavior analytics component, which is really essential. She also added that NOAA has been leveraging ML for threat detection, incident response, as well as vulnerability assessment. So, really, overall, Alex, ML seems to really be paying off in a big way for NOAA, which is great.
It sounds like it. So somehow we are already more than halfway through the year, which is just crazy to me. What are some cybersecurity goals that NOAA is hoping to achieve for the remainder of 2023?
Well, Alex, she told me that NOAA has a pretty aggressive culture when it comes to supporting their mission. And he said one of their goals for this year is boosting their efforts when it comes to investing in their cybersecurity workforce. And I know that several people that I've talked with lately have said the same thing, that it's crucial to boost their cybersecurity workforce. He said they want to attract the best cyber talent, of course, especially on the operations side, as well as information insurance. So she said that NOAA is continuing to raise the bar on having the right certification requirements and training, which also includes hiring more technical staff. Another thing at the top of NOAA's list is making progress with the OMB directive. So they're reviewing their roadmap and trying to see how to best align it to move towards a zero trust architecture.
Well, with all of that in mind, let's take a listen to your interview.
So before we begin, can you please introduce yourself and give a brief description of your role at NOAA?
Okay. My name is Chi Kang. I'm the Deputy Director for Cybersecurity Operations here at NOAA. I've been with NOAA since 2001, so definitely a dinosaur and somewhat of an institution at this point. I've had several different roles here at NOAA. over the years. Started my career in supporting IT systems and transitioned to cyber about 8 years ago. Currently, under my purview, I run the ops component of cyber. So we're not information assurance, we're not policy. We're mostly on the enforcement of policy, but primarily focusing on cyber analytics, incident response, and providing enterprise security services to the organization.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. Well, we can go ahead and get into our conversation now. Can you tell us about some of the primary functions of NOAA's Enterprise Security Operations Center when it comes to protecting the agency's networks and data from cyber attacks?
So NOAA runs a centralized security operations center. So we're the only component in cyber in NOAA that had that function. So information assurance is federated within the organization. NOAA has somewhere between 80 to 90 business systems at any given point, with about a third of them being a high impact system. So that is delegated as well as federated somewhat broadly within the organization that's close to the mission. But when it comes to security operation, that's centrally managed as well as centrally operated because of the economy of scale, as well as making sure that we have the core density of talent within the one organization. We provide several enterprise security functions, including network perimeter defense, as well as vulnerability assessment, attack surface management, as well as the 24/7 real-time monitoring for cyber analytics and providing any incident response handling across the entire organization. So we monitor upwards of 50 to 60 billion raw events on a weekly basis, and we put that into a giant set of milkshake technology, leveraging various different technologies, SIM-type products, leveraging machine learning to try to identify things of interest that need to be analyzed by humans. And we pump a lot of that stuff into a lot of tools that automate some of that process so that we could try to figure out if there's something of interest to see if there's something triggering a cyber event. We also coordinate a lot of the incident response handling between the organization and our upstream reporting entities, such as DHS, as well as Department of Commerce. And we really try to focus on not only on the responsive or reactive nature of it, but also the proactive threat hunting as well as threat and analytics, so that we could anticipate if there is a change in landscape where we see an increased attack vector or a probability of an attack. So I'm trying to do that preemptive outreach to our organization where we see something exposed or we see a vulnerability, that we see something being exploited in the wild, and where we see an attempt of an exploitation, we notify the organization to make sure that we shore up those infrastructure that provide NOAA's mission.
Okay, great. Thank you. And do you think that NOAA would ever go to a security operations center as a service model?
So if I'm trying to try to understand the question regarding would we, I guess, outsource our SOC, if you will, I think the answer is probably not. NOAA has made a significant IT security investment, especially in the ops side, of course, the last 6-7 years. And we've gone through different maturity level stages. And the SOC has been up and running in NOAA at the nature of the way it looks today since 2012. And there was significant investment back in 2015 and another significant round of investment that occurred in 2020 in response to the changing landscape with the remote workforce, et cetera. NOAA's actually been somewhat of a center of excellence when it comes to cyber and cyber operations. We were validated back in 2017 when DHS tick validation was a thing under the original TIC 2.0 reference architecture as a multi-agency TICAP provider. And I'm proud to say that NOAA currently provides TICAP services to 11 of the 13 bureaus within the Department of Commerce. And NOAA has actually had an annual SOC maturity assessment throughout the years. And we're at a pretty high level of maturity. And we compare ourselves to some of the DHS maturity models. And I think we're actually seeking to become a SOC as a service provider, if anything else, versus us actually referencing an existing provider.
Okay, great. Thank you for explaining that. Well, Chi, I want to ask you this. If you had a magic wand, what would you wish for to secure the enterprise?
That's it's a kind of open-ended question, but I'll do my best to attempt to answer that question. I think if you're in the world of incident response or cyber analytics, I think having a healthy patient or healthy organization is probably the most sought out state. An organization that has minimal exposure with virtually no vulnerabilities or a attack vector that's very small or close to zero would be the goal. But I think that's not really realistic in the real world. IT is messy, mission is messy, and NOAA has a lot of international partners, and we're in the business of disseminating and sharing a lot of our data, and that inherently comes with threats that comes with it. And unlike some organizations where you're trying to protect everything within a boundary, we're in the business of sharing all our data as well as disseminating a lot of the information that we have. So, trying to make sure that we understand we're operating at the lowest risk posture possible is probably the stand we want. That includes cyber hygiene, right? Make sure things are patched, things are properly configured to best practices, and trying to make sure that our stakeholders as well as our IT operators within the mission systems is able to continue to drive towards that. I would say that in the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years that I've been here in our program working with our mission systems, they've been doing a great job of understanding and trying to having that cultural change and part of that digital transformation over the years, where cyber is now becoming a foundational component or a pillar within a lot of organizations. And I think that's been a really good change in posture, if you will. Mm-hmm. But to kind of sum it up, right, making sure that we have a good culture of cyber awareness and making sure that we're able to invest our time and resources to make sure we take a balanced approach or balanced risk management approach to balancing mission and their needs, as well as our cyber threat exposure.
Okay, great. That was perfect. And you're right at the end there, you talked about having a good culture of cyber awareness. That is very important. Well, Chi, what emerging technologies is NOAA using to boost its security information and event management systems?
Well, we actually just went through about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago now, like almost been 2 years, we started leveraging a security orchestration automated response platform to supplement our multi-SIM environment. SIMs are somewhat of the early 2000, late 2000 type technology at this point. It's able to correlate events, but really the expensive part is making use of these events as well as making sure that you reduce the workload on the analyst, especially benign tasks or mundane tasks that should be very repeated. So having a security orchestration layer on top of a SIM environment or multiple SIM environments allows analysts to have a single pane of glass and view to be able to work within. They don't have to understand all the nuances of how the data is aggregated or correlated, but they have one dashboard or one way to interface with all the data. And some of the data they interface with has been already automated and presented to them as they're doing the analysis, so they're not manually searching for various data points. And so we have several playbooks that's able to leverage the speedy response, if you will, to any particular investigating of an IT security incident or a potential incident, given the automation technology that we have. So I think that was something that we really wanted to pursue 3-4 years ago. We did somewhat of an analysis of alternatives, and about 2 years ago it went into place, and we've been really doubling and tripling down to make sure that we really leverage that. But now the automation piece is great, right? But that also means that we have now more strategic or high-level analytic work that we need to do on top, or as well as developing some of the playbook. But some of the really other emerging technology, I think, is if you look at the OMB directive like M2131 with larger goals for data archive as far as visibility and optics, different technologies need to be reviewed as well as needs to be explored to try to meet those initiatives. Trying to have data retention for a year or in cold storage for like 18 months. That's only a piece of it. Indexing all that data and making it regularly available and meaningful for the analysts is a whole different aspect of that. So rather than try to do it with technology that we currently have, right, we're looking at technologies that our industry partners have already developed. Some of the technology that we've been piloting are things like Microsoft Sentinel, Google Backstory. They come with not only just the archiving as well as indexing technology, but also they come with other analytics as well as threat intelligence overlay that we could take potential leverage of. So we've been really exploring some of the cloud-based solutions and some of the larger vendors that are doing these type of behavior analytics as well as structured and unstructured data analytics. And we're really trying to make use of that so that we commoditize the analysis as much as possible so that we are really more interested in the product and not necessarily run the underlying infrastructure that supports it.
Okay, great. Well, it's very interesting to hear about the new technologies that you guys are piloting. Well, Chi, how is NOAA streamlining its tech tools and processes to better evaluate threats and improve incident response?
This is again, a pretty tough question, I think. There's a lot of technologies out there. I will say this is, you mentioned the magic wand earlier. Not a lot of organizations get to operate exactly the way they want to operate because of guardrails established by policies as well as statutory requirements, as well as other initiatives that's happening in the federal government. And trying to balance that, it's a challenge. So if you think about it, you have existing investment or sunk cost of the current landscape of technology when it comes to security tools. You have tools that are mandated or by policy or capabilities that are pushed down from either provided by CISA or by the department, et cetera. And a lot of them have overlapping capabilities and some of them have competing capabilities. So, we've been really trying to make sure that we understand, especially in the area of endpoint protection and management area, you have a lot of agents running on endpoint today to do one of several things, and some of those capabilities overlap. So we started a study several years ago to try to figure out, well, what are the mandated tools and how much do they actually overlap, and try to really drive down, what is the bedrock of things that really need to be in these things to meet the objectives. Mm-hmm. And the recent binding operation directive, like 2301, was a great example of giving organizations some latitude as far as how to meet the objective versus prescriptive on the tools that they were originally prescribed initially. So, really, you have to evaluate your landscape continuously to be able to do that. And right now, we really focused several years ago on endpoint, and we have a few decisions, or we have a few key points on the horizon as far as which way we want to pivot. The other area is we also do a threat. We do a incident response matrix for every incident, meaning we evaluate every incident and say, what tools detected things to identify the incident, or what tools were leveraged to investigate the incident. And then we see in our roadmap that's updated every 6 months, we say, well, what's currently on the horizon that would have also aided it for this particular incident or investigation. And we constantly evaluate this on a quarterly basis to say, are we on the right track based on the threat landscape that's coming, as well as what technology that we have in our environment maybe are not as useful as they were once, in the past, right? Because the threat landscape is continuously evolving. So we do that on a every incident basis to put that as a part of our analyst on a quarterly basis. And at the program level, we review it so that we make sure that the tools we're leveraging are in fact doing what they're supposed to be doing, as well as to make sure that we have some guiding stick to make sure that we're going in the right place.
Okay, perfect. Well, this actually leads me great into my next question. When we're talking about emerging technologies, what role is machine learning playing when it comes to increasing the speed and effectiveness of NOAA's cyber analytics?
So, machine learning is a huge part of our analytics component. Right? As I mentioned, that upwards of 50 billion base events on a weekly basis to be analyzed by our organization. It's a large number, and static content rules, etc. They're just not going to really cut it in these days, especially with how fast paced things are moving. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of machine learning for threat detection based on the optics and telemetry that the organization has. There's quite a bit of machine learning that we're trying to leverage for incident response. Currently, the playbooks and a lot of these things are more prescriptive, but we are trying to see if there's any room for leveraging machine learning for automating some of the incident response type things rather than having a pre-existing prescriptive rule. So there's a certain level of maturity that is really required to do that. But it's something that we're evaluating because we really want to make sure that our cybersecurity talent workforce is focusing on the things that are required for humans, and less, that are benign, things that could be leveraged by machines. We've been evaluating a few different attack surface management products as well, outside of the ones we currently have that really does the automated vulnerability assessment. And there's a lot of machine learning products out there right now that could do pen testing as well as vulnerability assessment. And it's a huge area in order to make sure that rather than us see a potential attack or see an attempted attack, right, just understand the exposure, trying to figure out what could be leveraged by leveraging some of the data from these machine learning vulnerability assessment tools out there that could try to get to an early start to try to reduce that threat footprint. One major area, though, I will say that is essential outside of the volume of optics that we have is really on the behavior analytics. So insider threat or internal risk mitigation is a huge topic across our organization, as well as I suspect a lot in the federal government. Data loss and data exfiltration is a thing that is very real, and it needs to be monitored for as well as for detecting. And these are not things that humans could really do. There's just too much data as well as too many subjective things out there, and so many varieties of how data exploitation could occur that having a prescriptive nature of a person and a process is not a very effective thing. So there's a number of tools that we've been leveraging, interfacing with our collaboration platform, as well as where we keep a lot of our PIR or CUI type data, as far as how data is in transit, as well as how it's stored and permissions that overlay to it. Mm-hmm. And machine learning has been a huge part of our ability to really grow our behavior analytics component in our SOC to be able to detect for potential data loss or data exfiltration within the organization.
Okay. It's wonderful to hear all of the benefits that machine learning is bringing to NOAA, especially in helping with the cyber analytics. Well, Chi, in what ways can industry help NOAA enhance its overall cybersecurity mission?
Well, NOAA is an interesting organization, in my opinion. I've been here, like I said, since 2001. And I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of different organizations as part of our collaboration. And I will say that NOAA is not completely unique, maybe, but it's slightly uncommon, I think, in the federal government that we are a science organization, so we have a high tolerance for innovation. So if you think about it, certain agencies are not necessarily have that culture. But as a science organization, on the science side, there's a high tolerance for innovation, but that culture also translates to the way we run IT, but also the way cybersecurity is also operated here at NOAA. And I think our leadership has demonstrated, as well as shown to us, that there's a high tolerance for innovation. And when it comes to industry, I think understanding that about NOAA, right, and understanding the customer is really trying to make sure that we get innovative solutions approached to us, as well as submitted to us about solving a problem. I think there is a quote from the 80s, like, no one ever got fired from buying IBM. And I understand this seems logical because if everyone else is doing it, it might be a good idea. It's a proven thing. But, if you think about it, just because it's the thing that everyone is doing, it doesn't mean it's the best way, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's the forward-leaning way. So I think it's one of those things where trying to really embrace that out-of-the-box culture, to try to look at the problem a different way. And if you have an organization that's a high tolerance for its mission, innovation for its mission, supporting its mission, we require a cyber solution that are also equally innovative to be able to try to protect it. So, when industries are interfacing with NOAA when it comes to cybersecurity, I think it's really important to understand the customer and making sure that understand that we have a high tolerance for innovation, and we would like to see some innovative approaches on how to solve a problem. And don't just give us the one that the majority of the federal agencies have done in the past, or the one that is somewhat saying, well, this is a proven model, right? And it's kind of like, well, that was great 10 years ago, but we're not looking for that anymore, right? We're looking for more of the innovative approach.
Right. Great. Well, what are some of the cybersecurity goals that NOAA is hoping to achieve for the remainder of 2023?
Well, lots of goals, but I think we have a pretty we have a pretty aggressive culture when it comes to trying to accomplish and supporting our mission. So I think some of the ones that I would say is we're really trying to continue to invest in our cybersecurity workforce, both in the operations side as well as information assurance. And this includes both technical for feds as well as for contract partners that support us. So that investment means about just raising the bar, right? Certification requirement, training, as well as making sure that we have a good place for and that could attract the best cybersecurity talents within the organization. So it's trying to make sure that the organization is continuing to invest in our workforce. Is definitely it's almost a goal every year, but we really want to make sure that we continue to do that for the remaining of the year. Specifically to operations, we've really been trying to invest and hire more technical federal staff. We actually have an incredible federal presence within the operations team that are very technical. There are organizations where you see a lot of technical or federal roles within any organization be mostly administrative, as well as oversight roles. But we may have oversight roles, but we also have technical feds working side by side with our industry partners, working incidents, analyzing incidents, as well as responding to incidents in real time. Collaborating and making sure that we have a good dynamics with our partners. The other goal that I think is continue to streamline processes for intelligence sharing across SOC. This is I know part of the EO improving nation's cybersecurity posture has definitely been a goal, but also just interfacing with other SOCs, formally, informally, making sure we're aware of each other. And we'll do information sharing between SOCs with some of the ones that we work closely with. When we have a new ED or BOD drop, we talk about, hey, how are you guys meeting this? Or what is your approach for your investigation particular to this threat? And we're trying to make sure that we have more collaboration between the SOC at the working level, so that not just the guidance that we're getting from either CISA or the department, we're trying to make sure that we have a community of SOCs that could really speak to each other about how are we accomplishing the things that are coming down to try to protect our own missions. And then lastly, I think we've been somewhat on full speed for the last year, trying to make sure that the organization is moving toward the Zero Trust framework. Right, there is an OMB directive out there for making sure that we're moving towards it. There's some set of prescriptive instructions in there, but we've been really working with a lot of our IT practitioners within the organization and reviewing their roadmap and trying to shift the roadmap that they currently have so that it aligns best with meeting the Zero Trust architecture. I think a lot of organizations, when they look at things like Zero Trust, no one's starting from zero. Everyone has some cost investment as well as a path that they were on. We just want to make sure that the organizations that run those services, we're all headed towards the same true north, if you will, when it comes to things like Zero Trust. So we're continuing to working with those IT partners to make sure that their roadmap are strategically aligned to some of the organization goals, in this specific case, to Zero Trust.
Okay, Gee, I appreciate you outlining some of those goals that you guys are trying to achieve before the end of 2023. And I agree with you when you said about investing in the workforce. I mean, that's huge. And especially attracting the best cyber talent is indeed crucial. Well, are there any future cybersecurity efforts or initiatives that you're excited about?
Zero Trust is actually something that I'm very excited about. I think it's been a really good initiative. It's not necessary if you take the components and you break it down, they themselves are not new necessarily, but it does bring it under one umbrella as a focus initiative to try to prioritize it within the federal government and the organization. And I think that's given some really good outline of how an organization should try to approach this problem. And it's been a really good forcing function in certain areas to make sure things like MFA, vulnerability scanning, right, incident response planning, they kind of all seem to align together. So it's been a really good, I think, initiative. And having that being out there, industry, is responding effectively with that and making sure that when they offer us a solution, is able to incorporate with one zero trust strategy or within the zero trust framework. So I think that's been a really exciting initiative across the federal government. And I think the federal government has been pretty pleased with how the industry has been responding to try to assist in meeting that goal. The other thing, outside of machine learning, there's a lot of AI-powered threat detection that's a part of the emerging technology. That's also really exciting. There's these quasi AI and a lot of ML out there, but there's been a lot of AI-specific branded threat detection that's coming out. So we're continuing to evaluate to see how they could be incorporated within our organization as part of our security capabilities. But that's a super exciting space because it just means that our workforce could continue to focus on the higher level functions and try to automate and try to relieve some of the more day-to-day or some of the repeatable things that could be done through AI. So it's a pretty exciting space because I think it's a transformational thing about how workforce would be transformed. So if you kind of look at it like this is a situation where I can see the core of a workforce be transformed. Just mentioning earlier about our XSOAR technology, SOAR technology that we implemented, there's been a huge transformation where we had mostly SOC analysts and then less incident response handlers. And now we have less security analysts and we have more incident response handlers. So it's been somewhat of a flip because we have these higher level analysts and certified incident response handlers within our organization, our workforce, because we're doing more high level type cyber related work. So, that's been really exciting. And if you look at core density or talent density within the organization, that's been a huge change within the last 2 years. So, I think AI is going to continue to drive that. So, super excited about it. But we're trying to be cautious to make sure that, we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's because, new technologies bring, new sets of challenges. And, but we're excited to continue to evaluate them and see how they can be incorporated to our organization.
Awesome. I totally agree with you. The AI and threat detection, that's super exciting indeed. And we have a lot to look forward to. So that's great. Well,
I do want to add one more thing. It just came to me is, we're talking about collaboration with our SOC. I am actually really excited to see additional collaboration between public and private sectors when it comes to threat intelligence sharing. That's been it was part of the EO to try to relieve some of the constraints that occurs with that in the past. And it really focused on trying to make sure that intelligence is shared more regularly and readily available between private and private sectors. And I think that's been a huge win, I think, just for both sectors. So, I'm continuing to be excited to see how more does that come. And, it's trying to make sure that, larger visibility of the threat landscape as what's being exposed, as well as what's being, what everybody's dealing with. I think it's an exciting time to see that type of collaboration be a focus. And, seeing more of it, I think it's just going to be even better.
Great. Yes, I totally agree with you. That sounds wonderful. Before we conclude, Chi, I wanted to know, do you have any final comments or remarks that you would like to leave with our listeners?
Cyber is a challenging space, and I think honestly, it's a team sport. It requires every practitioner at the IT level, at the user, all the way to the IT level, IT security practitioner, as well as incident response handler. No one could do it alone, right? It's about educating the user workforce. It's about educating the developers. It's about working with the developers, the IT practitioners, the admins, as well as the IT security specific role individuals. So I think, one thing is, I know a lot of organizations try to do it on their own, right? But it requires a partnership all the way from the end user as well as all the way to the executives at getting their support and buy-in. So just understand that cyber is definitely it requires a holistic approach to try to meet it and do it well. And I think it's I just want to say, at least here at NOAA, it's been super helpful to see that type of alignment the last few years. And I think that kind of translated some of the success and some of the forward progress that we've seen within our organization.
Okay, great. Well, that was perfect. Chi, I really appreciate that. I want to thank you again for taking out time to speak with me today about NOAA's cyber mission and all of the goals and things that you hope to accomplish for the rest of this year and beyond. And so I really do appreciate you joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cybercast, along with GovCast and HealthCast, is a production of GovCIO Media and Research. For more podcasts and to check out the other shows, head to govciomedia.com. Watch out for new episodes released every Tuesday and Wednesday across our shows. You can follow all of them on your favorite podcast platform. And if you like what you heard, make sure to let us know by leaving a review. And if you have any topics you think we should look into, contact us at newsletter@govcio.com.